Welcome in to another week of Yellow Jacket football. I'm Kay Crenshaw, joined alongside Allen head football coach Teddy Keaton. Coach, thanks much for taking the time, and let's go back to this past weekend to start. When you signed on to restart this program, you said it yourself. You didn't come here to play, you came here to win. And for the first time, you were able to hoist a trophy in the air on Saturday after winning the AME Classic. First off, what does that milestone mean to you?
I'm just proud of my players. I'm proud of the constituents that bought into the program. I'm proud of our administration. And in terms of me, I expect to win, and I told the kids that from the get-go. We would tear it down, rebuild it, do whatever we had to do to get in the position to win, and I think they did that. The players did a great job. They executed at a high level. They understood what was at stake. Edward Waters had previously beat me in my time since I had been here 3 times, and they tried to embarrass me 3 times, and I told the players, you need to take this personal. They were a good football team. They're still a good football team. My hat goes off to Coach Morgan and the job he's done at reviving Edward Waters football. You just can't lay down. Back when I first started coaching, Edward Waters was just the doormat of football. You know, you just knew that you could play him and you was going to beat him and just show up. Coach Morgan and Coach Jenkins and the rest of those guys down there in company have done a tremendous job of getting Edward Waters back in that fight, as well as I'm trying to do the same thing with Allen University.
A 59-21 victory over the Edward Waters Tigers on Saturday. Coach, you mentioned something there that stuck out to me. You talk about the people who bought in to the belief that Allen could be a really great football program. It just had to have the right people, and it might take some time. On Saturday, you were celebrating with the players, staff, family, and friends all over the sidelines, but there was also a special group that embraced you on the sidelines with a trophy celebration, and that was a collection of former players who were here back in 2017, 2018 to help you restart this program. What did it mean to share that moment with them and for them to see the fruition of their labors pay off a few years later?
I think that they feel exactly how I feel. They worked hard, they stayed in game. That group never really got beat bad. They won games every year they were here, so they just kept getting better and better and better. Yes, we had to go and restructure some things and turn around some things, but that group is special to me. To watch them graduate, that was a bunch of guys that probably would have never played college football anywhere if it wasn't for Allen University. They probably would have never received a degree if it wasn't for Allen University. So when I started the program, it's important that you build a foundation of players that will always be able to come back and be a part of what we're building. I could have went the transfer route and got a bunch of transfers and different things of that nature, but what foundation would I be building for the Allen University football program? So it's important for me to have those guys to be around, show those guys what it was like when they were here versus how good they got it now, because sometimes we have to revisit the past in order to appreciate the future. And a lot of those guys spend a lot of time around the program. They talk on the social media. They've connected with the players that's there. They've made them feel and let them know the importance of certain games that's involved in the program. And I was just so happy they were there on the sideline to see us do that and be able to embrace the young with the new.
And that was the theme on Saturday, with it being Homecoming 2023 here at Allen University. And Coach, on Homecoming, your team made history behind over 500 yards total offense, 59 points. That's the 6th most ever in an Allen football game. What clicked so well offensively against Edward Waters? I mean,
it's been clicking a lot. We just have to eliminate the mistakes sometimes. I think sometimes we get out, we do some things, and most of the wounds that we self-inflicted. We do them ourselves, and I think that they're buying into what I'm telling them. If they can eliminate the mistakes, they could really beat somebody. They really got the potential. Nobody talks about this, but we're the number 8 offense in the country. When you're talking about in the country, we're not talking about in HBCU. We're talking about in the country. You got to show up like the number 8 offense in the country. You got to play like that, and you got to play consistently, and you can't create mistakes and different things of that nature there. And I think they're buying into it, and they get to see the results of what we're doing.
Among the nation's leaders in passing yards is your quarterback, David Wright III, for the 7th time this season. David had over 300 yards on Saturday. He finished with 308, completed nearly 70% of his passes, and 4 touchdowns for him. He's got a chance upcoming this weekend. We're going to give you a full preview of that Benedict matchup, but Coach, for David, sitting 1 yard shy of 2,800 on the season, he's got a chance to hit 3,000 on the year, which hasn't been done in the SIAC in over a decade. What can that moment mean for him and his career, and what can enable him to do that on Saturday?
Well, if he does what he's supposed to do, I heard on a podcast, and they're absolutely right. David Wright can throw you in a game, but he also can throw you out of a game. And I think if he eliminate the mistakes and get out of his own way and just do what the offense tell him to do, he'll get where he needs to go. But sometimes he wants to be a playmaker. He wants to create opportunities for some of his receivers, and that's not a bad thing for him. But sometimes he got to understand some of them won't be able to go with him. He has to stay with what gives him what he needs to get.
One of those favorite targets this season has been DeAndre Ruffin. Coach, he's top 30 in the country in receiving yards per game with over 600 yards on the season. How big has the graduate wideouts emergence been for your offense this year?
Well, Ruffin's one of those players that's been here for a while. And Ruffin is having a breakout year, meaning that he's spent some time in creating value for himself, meaning that he went and worked in the offseason with people that helped train him to use that big frame. He's 220 pounds at 6'2", 6'3", and he can run, and he's learned how to use it and catch the ball and create, opportunities that he normally would just catch the ball and fall to the ground. Now he's learned how to catch it and run. I mean, I'm impressed with what Ruffin has been able to do and his level of focus that he's put in. And I saw it in the spring that he was determined that he was going to walk away. You don't come back for a grad year not to have a great year. So it was on us as coaches and him as a player to make sure that he had what he got out of the program, because in the future we'll have guys that want to graduate, that could graduate, that still may have another year of eligibility, and we would like to keep them in our program other than going somewhere else to create value for themselves.
You don't get a top 10 offense nationally only through the year. You also have to establish the run game. And Coach, early on in the season, you challenged Bo Harrington. Through 3 weeks of the year, he was averaging less than 2 yards a carry. But since that early season challenge, and probably what was a tough conversation back in September, Bo in 5 of his last 6 has over 50 yards and a touchdown. What's allowed for that turnaround from Harrington, and how big has his impact been?
Well, Harrington bought into what I was talking about, and didn't just challenge Bo. I challenged the O-line too. We got to be able to run the ball a little bit more to take the pressure off of David Wright. So if we're able to do things and stay positive and hit the holes and just get 1 or 2 yards of carry and stay ahead of the change, that it's not 3rd and 13, maybe it's 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 4, that we can easily complete a pass or run the ball and get that. I think Bo bought into it. The O-line bought into it. I think the whole offense bought into it, that we need to be able to run the ball significantly better in order to beat teams, that could control a clock.
Harrington, a touchdown on Saturday in the 59-21 win over Edward Waters. Coach, the offense can take a lot of the headlines from Saturday, but you also have to look at how the defense played as well. You had Cam Scott getting his first career pick for the junior linebacker, and then DeLil Wilkins gets his 3rd of the season. That's the 3rd most in the SIAC. You said it at the end of last year that the secondary was a group that had to improve in order for your team to have success. They went out and they did that heading into this season, and it's paying off. You have one of the top secondaries in terms of interceptions in the conference. How has their success paid off to the team's success?
I think they still got work to do, but I think they've done a really good job of learning what to do, how to do it, and why it's important to do it that way. It is extremely difficult to play secondary because you have run support you got to be able to get in, and you got to cover for 60 minutes in a game. You have to be in a different type of conditioning, and you got to understand where you fit at in the defense. And a lot of times last year we brought a new defensive coordinator in, new system, new coaches. Everybody was trying to learn the system. So I think they kind of got, caught up in the rapture of that the first year. And this year I think they've kind of settled in on the defense, and they've kind of understanding what their roles are and how they provide and add value to the team that way. Coach Cole has done a tremendous job. Natron Stork has done a tremendous job. EJ Jr. has done a great job. Those guys have really, really worked together and came up with a way. And, Marvin Cunningham is our assistant defensive coach. He coached the outside linebacker, but he's our overall coach. He's the eyes and ears of the team. He watches all sides of the ball. He's a good offensive. He was a quarterback, so he kind of knows what's this. So he brings great value to them, and he also gives them that wisdom and those little bit of nuggets in the secondary for them to understand what the quarterback thinking, how his eyes is, what his rotation is, where he's going with the ball, how to play and play with your eyes and not in the backfield, but playing through your receivers and using your legs and believing in yourself. So I think all of those great minds over there have contributed to the defense being better as a whole. And I think they're ranked like number 36 in the country right now. And it gets skewed because we've had a lot of pick six on offense. We've turned the ball over and put them in difficult field positioning. I think they're like number 3 in red zone defense. They've done a really good job, but the numbers are skewed based off of how many points they've given up, simply because we do a lot of things on offense that causes them to have problems.
You talk about the improved side of your defense. When we look to the third phase of the game, special teams has been much improved for you as well. A huge congrats goes out to place kicker Sidi Bajang, named SIAC Special Teams Player of the Week. Bajang, a 27-yard field goal in Saturday's victory, 8 for 8 on extra points, and he averaged nearly 60 yards a kick on his 9 kickoffs on Saturday, including 2 touchbacks. Now, Coach, for those who may not know, this is a program that you helped restart where you didn't have a practice field goal post for 4 years. You just now are starting to practice kicking, and that adds another dynamic to your offense. For a guy like Sidi Bajang, who oftentimes only got to practice before game days on Saturday to kick, what did Saturday mean to you to see?
I was proud of him. That's another area that we focused in on in the offseason. We had to find players other than our starters on offense and defense that could go in and contribute to the team on special teams. Overall, they still not where we want them to be, but I have to give that whole unit, and Coach Cole, Coach Cunningham, and all the coaches play a role in special teams. We have spots that we have to work on. And CD was one of those spots that we've been trying to coach to get him to where he could get used to kicking field goals, because we had nowhere to kick a field goal. The first time they kicked a field goal, most of the time, was when we showed up at the stadium. So now they got opportunities to go out and work on their legs, do what they need to do, learn how to kick the ball, place the ball between the hashes. They get all that work, and we dedicate almost 30 minutes of practice time to special teams because it's a third of the game, and we had to get better in that, because you think offense and defense play a tremendous role, but field positioning with kickoff coverage, return, punt. I mean, we'll be remiss if we don't talk about the punt team. The punt team has did a tremendous job. If you take a season back last year, we probably lost more games because of our punt and our punt protection. They were fumbling the ball would snap over the head, they would get the ball at the 1 yard line, people would scoop and score. And I'm so proud of the attention to details that the younger kids are paying on that particular areas that has allowed CD to grow, it's allowed for Damir to grow, it's allowed for the long snapper to grow. Everybody understands how important special teams is, and us as a coaching staff have made that a priority in our day-to-day work.
Wilkins didn't have to punt on Saturday, the first time this season that he's had the day off, as Bajang is the first player in program history to be named SIAC Special Teams Player of the Week. Well, Coach, we turn our attention to Benedict upcoming this Saturday. It's rivalry week, part 2. You play him in back-to-back weeks this year, but also for the second straight week, you're taking on a top 20 passer in the country. A veteran quarterback leads the charge for the Benedict Tigers, and graduate QB Aeneas Dennis, over 2,000 yards on the season. Coach, you look at this Benedict team, a Tiger squad that's won 21 straight regular season games. What can your team do on Saturday in hopes of tripping them up?
They're a really good football team. They play well. They do a lot of great things. They got a lot of great small players that don't, quote unquote, get a lot of recognition, but they do a lot of good things over there. I think Dennis he's a perfect fit for what they want to do on offense, and he carries it out well. He executes at a high level. Defensively, they got a lot of great players over there, 15, 8, 13, 0, 5, 1. Those guys are really good football players. They do exactly what they're told to do. They're in position to make plays, and they don't make a lot of mistakes. And that's where their You win a lot of ball games if you don't kill yourself. And I think that's where they're really good at. You can't go out and make 15 mistakes, turn the ball over 5 times, give them more opportunities, or give Dennis an opportunity to be able to take control of that game and be able to methodically move the ball down the field. Nothing special. Do hard 21. The running backs are good. 6 good. I think they just do a tremendous job of executing at a high level in all 3 phases of the game.
Benedict is the reigning HBCU national champion this year. They are 9-0 on the season. Coach, you mentioned their defense there, and a lot of people view that as a strong strength of their team, especially on the defensive line. The Tigers rank top 3 in the country in sacks per game. As for your offensive line, they have been a much improved group as well this year. You go back to Saturday, David Wright sacked just 1 time against Edward Waters. Your offense as a whole, the 3rd least sacked team in the SIAC. How can they sustain some of the successes they've had on Saturday against probably their toughest competition yet?
Again, we've seen some good D-lines. We've seen Albany State, Miles, Fort Valley. We've seen it. We've been down this road. Probably not as anybody as potent as Lupus. I can't say his name always right, but number 13, he's a ball player. He was a ball player last year. And I think 15 and those other guys create opportunities. They got a freshman, number 97, that does a really good job of creating opportunities for himself. I think that they just got a lot of value, and our guys got to anchor down. They got to understand their assignment. They're going to have to know what to do, and they're going to have to take on the twists, the stunts, the slanting, and everything of that nature there. They're going to have to play well in order for us to protect David Wright and keep him upright and make sure that David gets the ball out of his hands and get it into the places that we need to be able to do what we need to do.
You mentioned a name there that definitely needs to be known for Saturday, and Lupert Danellis, the All-American defensive end who's among the nation's sack leaders, anchors that defensive line for Benedict. Well, Coach, as you move into what is the final week of the regular season, what's the injury report look like for your team?
We're healthy. We're healthy. I'm very. My hat goes off to my strength and conditioning coach. He was hired late in August, and he really worked. I mean, the prior strength and conditioning coach did a tremendous job. He took another job, and he done a really good job. And I think I've had a series of good. Let's go back to Kerry Thompson. And then we go into all those guys that helped us build this program to get us bigger, faster, and stronger. The offseason program, which in terms helps decrease in your injuries. And I think that my hat goes off to that strength and conditioning staff who's done a tremendous job. We have the normal nicks and bobos and things that, people get hurt, fingers and, an ankle here, little bothersome. But overall, we're completely healthy, and that's a big thing going into a game of this magnitude.
Coach, as you head into the Week 10 of the 2023 season, you've said it all along since you restarted this program that a head coach is only as good as his family back home, and that support system throughout this year in the highest of highs of moments, whether it be hoisting up the AME Classic trophy, taking down Albany State on the road on homecoming. You have put a focus on the family side of football and incorporating your wife Brittany and your son Cohen in on the mix. I saw on Saturday he was taking some pictures with the trophy before heading out from the field. What does it mean for you as a dad to share those moments with your young 3-year-old son?
I think you don't get those moments back. As everybody know, I was previously married, and I didn't take that time with my girls, and they didn't, nor did they have an interest in it anyway. But I didn't do that. So when I had a chance to redo it, I went back and I made sure I incorporate. Even when I went to Miles, they all came to see me. My old family and my new family all combined together. My daughters was there. It just made me feel like, the worst thing you want to fail is, I say this as a man, you don't want to win somewhere else and lose at home. So those people, when all the fans go away, when all the wins, there's nobody standing up cheering for you. Those are the people that love you the most, whether you win, lose, or draw. So that part of me is always saying, make sure you include the people that love you, regardless of whether you win, lose, or whatever. They're going to be the people that's going to console you when you lose. They're going to be the happiest people for you when you win. My mom came this weekend. My mom was at Miles. It makes me feel good to share those moments, being that I've coached all across the country. They haven't been able to share a lot of those moments with me. So it's important for me to have my family and to create that type of value and that atmosphere to let my sons and my daughters know that, yes, sports is important to me, but you guys are more important to me too.
You talk about your wife, Brittany, loving you a whole lot. Well, earlier this week, it was Halloween, and Brittany pulled off what was the costume of the year. She dressed as Teddy Keaton. She had the drawn-on beard. She had the headset. What was the reaction when you walked in the room and saw your wife, and you sort of were looking in the mirror?
I said, only Brittany Keaton. She's the only person that knows how to pick me up sometime when I'm down. She sees all my moments. She sees my moments when I'm good, some moments when I'm bad. She knows when I'm frustrated. I think that was the biggest compliment you could give, that she wanted to be her husband and show me, because she's the biggest coach ever. You guys don't know, when we get home and things go wrong, when I get my bag down and I get out the car and I set it in the chair and I'm getting ready to sit down, the first thing you want to hear it now or you want to hear it later? So she's been coaching the program right along with me, and she's been there every step of the way, and she knows all the kids know her, and I think that's important for especially the young black males I coach, to let them see the example of a family, with my kids being involved, with my wife being involved, and my hat goes off to my ex-wife. She does a really good job when they can be a part of it. I'm a grandfather now. My grandson was there, and I can't say more than enough that this has been Alan has been good to me. Alan has been great to me. Alan has embraced me, my family, the kids here. We're almost 700 strong. And when they say changing a culture from thinking that they can't show up and win to they can win, is more than enough for me, and satisfying that all my family get to see us do it.
Family, the driving force for football here at Allen. The 6-2 Yellow Jackets will wrap up the regular season with a semi-road trip a mile down the road to take on the Benedict Tigers on Saturday at 2 p.m. For Teddy Keaton, I'm Kay Crenshaw. That'll wrap it up this week for Yellow Jacket football.